Hey, welcome. It's Captain Matt, Boater Secret Weapon. I want to thank you for joining us for this Sunday night live. We're getting ready to start here in just a couple of minutes here. We'll start about 8:30, but I wanted to welcome you. If you've never been to a live, here's what you can expect. Just go ahead and chat in your comment section, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube. Just ask your question, leave your comment there, and then as we go through the time, I just kind of scroll down all the comments and I try to answer them. Now, if it's something that I need to ask you a question, I may ask you a question and just put it in the chat again, and I'll come back and I'll get that information so I can give you a more personalized response, something that's going to really add value for you. This is just something I do. One, it's great fun. I really enjoy it. It's helpful for the community. Just sharing my knowledge. Now, one thing that you need to know, I don't know everything about boats. I know a lot about boats. I've been a boater since I was 5. I've sold boats. It's something that is a big part of my life. With that said, I don't know everything. Matter of fact, sailboats, have zero experience with sailboats. Bass boats, very little experience there. Bow riders, deck boats, center consoles, jet boats, twin engines, stern drives, outboards, inboards, all of that I have experience with. And if I have an answer, I'll give you my best answer. If I don't have an answer, I'll try to give you a resource that will be valuable for you. If I have an opinion, I'll try to give you that opinion, but let you know this is what I think, not what I absolutely know. So I look forward to it. Here's a little video intro that a subscriber made for me. Thanks, Bo. And we'll see you on the live when it kicks off here in just a moment. Welcome, everybody. Captain Matt, Boat Buyer Secret Weapon, and Boater Secret Weapon. We're all the same. I, as you can tell from the bright red face, just came off the water. Put the boat away, got it all cleaned up, covered up, and finished helping the neighbor building his dock next door. He's redecking it, put some new bracings up, and it is just got back, so I'm unshowered. I washed my face a little bit, put on a hat, new shirt, and you got me. So I was out enjoying the boating lifestyle. We headed down the lake, stopped and had a, as my daughters called it, dinner, a little lunch dinner, and about 4 or 5 o'clock, they were looking forward. If you've ever been on Lake Loudon in Tennessee, just outside Knoxville, there's a place called Cheers on Chodo. Chodo is, I guess, the arm of the river. And last year they had this big giant brownie sundae that we got, and the girls shared it with everybody and had a great time. And my youngest was bound and determined to get it. Last time we were out here, there was rain the whole week we were here, so we didn't make it to Cheers. This time she insisted we get there, and they took it off the menu. So she was very disappointed, and fortunately her Grammy made her some brownies and made her own brownie ice cream sundae here at the house when we got back. So just a little daylight left, but that is what's up. Welcome, Dustin, Kings of the City. Welcome, Rob. Good to have you back. Jerry, good to have you. Few names I've not seen before. Yeah, I think there's a few folks that have joined and have been coming the last several. So it's great to see that. Brock, good to have you. Hopefully you had a good run at the tournament. Billy, welcome. That's a new name I haven't seen before. Tough one for everyone. Finished 8th, 3 fish, 7.2 pounds. First place was only 11.5. Water so warm, all the fish are deep. Um, yeah, it has been. I did. So I alluded to it last week, but I am going to be a guest host on Aaron from Born Again Boating. If you guys ever watch that channel, it's an awesome channel. I've been a fan of it for years. I've been a fan of it even before I started mine, before I started my channel. But he reached out to me and invited me to be a guest host on his new podcast, or not new. He's been doing it for a while with another guy that they decided not that he didn't want to continue doing it. It was too much commitment and wasn't seeing the benefit of it. So Aaron reached out to me. We recorded a podcast episode last week. Ended up that podcast, my side didn't record. So we recorded a rerun of it the other day on Tuesday, and we had a great time together. He's a fun guy. He's a very knowledgeable guy, and so I'm excited about being part of that. So if you're a podcast listener, it is the Boaters Podcast. I think is what it's called. The Boaters Podcast. Um, and anyway, Aaron's a technician, a certified tech down in no, not the Boaters Podcast. Let's see. Boaters Podcast. Boaters Podcast. Aaron Hilligoss is, so you can find it on YouTube. You can find it on Spotify, Apple, all the podcast platforms. And he also does puts a bunch of stuff up on Instagram from the podcast, but his no internet. All right. So let me know, guys, if I'm back. Look like our internet dropped there for a second. Am I back on live? Okay, looks like I'm still good. BC Outdoors, welcome. Jacobs Life Ventures, good to have you back. Took my boat on a maiden voyage yesterday. Took your best boat captain on the water course. Everything went fantastic for a first timer. Load, unload, docking, navigation. That's awesome. That is awesome. I'll brag just a little bit. We went to as I was saying, we went to Cheers on Choto, a lake restaurant on the lake, and they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 slips. Some of them are double, some of them are single, right off a main channel. It's got a breakwater, but right off a main channel. And there's one slip that's all the way up by the seawall, maybe 5 feet from the seawall. And I backed it in, got it all tied up. It's a real short dock, so you've got to tie it up kind of creatively. We were on what is a 2018 Cobalt R5, my in-laws Cobalt, and so we got it backed in there, got it tied up, and I was walking up to the restaurant, and it's tight. It wasn't anything crazy, but it's tight. And the guy's like, "Oh, some good boat handling." I said, "Thank you very much. I appreciate that." But I love the fact that you're getting out there on the maiden voyage and you're not freaked out. You've got the confidence. You know what to do. You're going to continue to get better and better and better with practice. But the fact that everything went fantastic on the first time, you get to get better from a good point, and continue to get really really good, versus struggling and maybe even not enjoying boating like you could. So I love to hear that. Thank you for sharing that, Jacob. New Belarg. I have a fairly long question. I believe I'm a first time boat buyer considering a 10 to 15 foot cruiser. A lot of options for bayliners in my area. And I'm going to I just saw that, Jacob. That's good. That's a good day when you get out of your first outing and no embarrassing moments. Uh, let's see. I currently haul 40-foot toy hauler ton dually, so weight and size isn't really an issue as far as towing. Um, okay, I'm back. I'm back. I'm good. Okay, so let's see here. So I'm not sure what the question is. If it's is a Bayliner 2652, 2855, are those good boats? And the answer is in that price range, potentially. Here's what you got to be careful of is there are a lot of systems on those Sierras, okay, on any cruiser, whether it's a Sundancer, whether it's a Regal, whether it doesn't matter what it is. It could be a $1 million Sunseeker yacht. There's a lot of systems that you have to make sure are running the way you want it to if that's important to you. So, one, make sure it's structurally sound. Make sure that there's no spray a hose all around anywhere by a port light, by a hatch, any of that to make sure no water's getting in. Look for signs in the headliner that there's the water has gotten in the past. Make sure that that hasn't caused problems. Make sure you don't have any delamination, any structural damage to the hull by tapping with your big screwdriver. And I'm traveling, so I don't have all my toys next to me to use. But you're just going to tap on the hull with a screwdriver just lightly and listen for a good sound. I got a video on it on the channel. Then you go to mechanical. Listen, this is going to be a 30-year-old boat. It's 10 to 15,000. There's lots of things wrong with this boat, okay? Even in a perfect situation. So what you need to do, Nublarg, is figure out what are the things that are okay with you not being perfect, okay? The gel coat's faded. Great. I can put my effort and labor in to buff that baby back to life and make it come out really, really nice. Not perfect, but really, really nice. I'm willing to do that. I'll take a faded hull if it's structurally sound. Mechanically, if I'm mechanically inclined or not is going to vary based on how you're going to handle this. But I want my engine to be solid. I would prefer it be a freshwater boat. I don't know where you're located, but I would prefer it be a freshwater boat. It's going to have an easier 30 years. I want to check all the systems. What's important to me? It's likely that if these systems haven't been updated, that they're going to go out in the next couple of years. So just be ready for that. A budget accordingly. Okay, your air conditioning, your hot water heater, your generator. 2655. I don't know if that will have a generator. The 2855 likely does. I don't know if they could put it in the 26 or not back in those years, but those are things you want to check out for. The plumbing, okay? The plumbing for your black water tank, your head, the plumbing for your shower, your sump pumps. You need to go through all that, open up every compartment, get a flashlight, stick your head down in there, look for leaks, look for anything that's clogged up. Smell. Sometimes you'll get a smell on the system and touch the plumbing, especially coming out of the head. If it's sticky, if it kind of has a sticky feel to it, that likely is going to be eliminate. It's going to emitting. That's the word I'm looking for. Emitting odors. Hey, listen, that may be something that is okay with you. It's not awful in most cases, but you can smell a little bit of it, or you can change all that out. It's a gross, disgusting job, but it means you're not going to have a hose fail. It means that odor is going to be gone away a lot, not eliminated completely. It's just in that year system. There's areas where some odor is going to get out, but changing those hose out, changing the what do they call it? There's some valves that allow it not to backflow and keep the stink down. Changing those out. There's a channel called The Boat Life. Diane and her husband. He changes one out on a Sea Ray. It's going to be different on a Bayliner, but similar enough that will give you an idea if you have to do it yourself. So all of these systems you want to go through, and maybe you say, I don't need a generator. I'm okay if we don't have air conditioning because it fits my budget and hey, we just want to get on the water. But know what doesn't work and then make your decision if you're okay with it. If you're mechanically inclined, a lot of that stuff is more labor intensive, costly than actually the parts outside of the air conditioning. The air conditioning and even the generator, those are going to be two of the more expensive ones. But if you're mechanically inclined, a generator it could be pretty simple fix if you know how to dig into it and diagnose. So that's what I would encourage you to do. And also, Newblar, is check out my video, How to Buy a Used Cruiser. I go into a lot more detail, but those are just some of the things that I think about. And I'll say this on any used boat that's even 5 to 7 years old. It's more about the boat than the brand. So the Bayliner 2855 Sierra that you're looking at, is that a good boat versus our Bayliner Sierra is a good boats? At this point, after 30 years, if it's still running, it was a well-made boat. You can see anything that was cheaply done. Now it's a matter of finding the things that are going to break, that are going to cause you to have to repair them, or just to maintain them, because some of those items are just, hey, the plumbing on a head system on a Blackwater tank, they go bad after a while. Just nature of the beast, and so you've got to figure out what you're comfortable fixing, what you're comfortable being without, and is it mechanically sound? Is this boat going to go out and get me back every time that I want to go? And everything else is based on what's important to you. So hopefully that's valuable. Hopefully that's the question you are asking. You would love fishing the pilings under 4 Mile Chesapeake Bay Bridge. Fisherman anchor about support reeled them in. What's the main difference in a Cobalt 220 and a Cobalt CS 22 and 23? Billy, tell me what year you're talking. And I'm going to pull up the Cobalt website because I don't know off the top of my head. And it might just be the 220S and the CS 220. Let me pull these up here, and I'll share my screen. Small bodies of water trailering, yes. Small bodies of water trailering, yes. Day cruise, wakeboard, skiing, anchoring activities. And here is, and we're going to explore that, and we're going to explore that. All right, so let me come back. Present my screen, and I'm going to show my whole window. Okay, so let's see what Billy has to say. Okay, 2018 to 2020. All right, so if we look, I don't believe they've had a model change in these boats, but we'll start with the 220S. All right, so this is a model that they've been building for 10 plus years. They probably have made some minor adjustments to it, but all right. So if we look at what I look at when there's a similar sizes, is I looked at the depth on the freeboard and I look at the layout. Okay, so this is the S and this is the CS, and from the exterior, it looks almost like the same mold. Let's see if we can get some different angles. All right, so let's look at the swim platform. Okay, so you've got a walkthrough, a transom walkthrough, and we'll call that a J seating right there. 2 captain's chairs, J seating on the 220S. And then this one, they move the walkthrough on the other side, and it is, okay, so this seating. Hey, babe, you want to say hi? I'm on a screen share right now, so you can't hang on. All right, so this is one of them that wanted to just say hi. You want to say hello?
Hi.
Hi. Well, thanks for the enthusiasm. I'm talking about Cobalts. All right.
Ooh, I like that.
Hey, will you bring me a Coke, please? I know you did, but if you love me, you will.
Oh.
See ya. Thanks, babe. All right, so that the the hull is probably very similar. I would venture to say that it's not the exact same, but the hull mold is very, very similar. I'm going to guess. Let's look at the and here's what's going to happen. So if this figures into your equation, the 220S, my gut tells me is probably going to go away soon. The CS 220 is probably going to be the model that stays. And if we look at boattrader.com, when did the 2018 power boats, give me Cobalt. So this is what I look at because there's just too many models for me to keep up with. But if I look 2018, 2020, and why did my Cobalt go away? Make Cobalt. That's what I want. All right. So the CS in 2018, they were making the CS. They're making the 2020S. CS23. Yeah. Where was that? CS22. Yeah, my gut would tell me is that the 2020S is probably going away and the CS is sticking, but it's more of a layout difference between those. And then when you look at the CS23, you've got that same transom walkthrough. So this is the layout that they have on the R's, the R3s, the R5s, the R7s that were up until 2021 or 22. They made a change on they started changing their R series and they made some adjustments, but it essentially has this same configuration where it's a transom walkthrough. There's a little seat here, which is a cooler, storage under these seats. This opens up to the engine compartment, and you've got a pad back here to sit. On the R's, that's a flip flop bench. On the CSs, because they're not as deep as the R series. But that's going to be your biggest differences. I'll tell you, the ride is going to be virtually identical. I didn't see what are the specs on it. All right, so 23.8 on the 23.86 beam. On the CS, 22.6 is the LOA with the swim platform, 8.6 beam. And then this one is 22.10 with an 8.6. So 22.6 and 22.10. Dead rise 20 degrees, dead rise 20 degrees. So you're what, 4 inches longer on the 22 CS. It's a little bit more room, but you're not going to notice it. It's more a matter of which layout do you like. Um, and my gut would tell me that, yeah. So if you like the idea of the transom walkthrough on this side, if that matters to you, here's what I will say. One thing that I like is I don't like, well, the way you want to say hello? All right, we got another visitor. Yeah, she said hello. All right, so this is the one that didn't get her ice cream sundae at the restaurant, but she did get it thanks to Grammy. Was it delicious? All right. All right, say goodbye.
Is there anybody I know out here?
I don't know if you know anybody. Do you know Dennis Rice or Jose Alvarez
Rice?
or Noblarg? Okay. All right. There. So I just answered his question perfectly. That's what I needed. All right.
What was the question?
He was asking about different
Me?
versions of
Okay,
Cobalts.
thank you.
So all right. Sorry. All right. Let's go back to the questions. And I think all right, no Blarg, that was you. Who Billy? Billy was asking about the Cobalt. So those are the big differences, Billy. It's what happens is they sometimes will phase out a model over time, and they'll change their models one at a time, and it can take a while for them to go from all right. We went for the R's. They just switched from the R3, R5, R7 to now R4, R6, R8. And they did them every year. They changed the new one, changed the new one, changed the new one, and phased out the old. And so the fact that they only have one S and they've got, you're not seeing my screen now, but they've got the S and the CS. They're moving to the CSs. And as soon as they get all of those moved over, that 22S is going to be phased out, unless they've got some dealers that say, no, we like the 220S better. Like that outsells the CS 220 in our market for whatever reason. Then they may keep it out along a little bit longer. But typically they'll phase it out at some point. I would guess that's the one that's going to go away because they're so similar, and it's really just a matter of layout. And so, all right, awesome. Thank you guys for letting me know I was back. All right, Ray, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. 211, hope you're doing good. Maybe you are joining from the water as well. Grew up fishing all along the Potomac. Me and Dad used to vertical jig cast master gold spoons off the 495 bridge, pull up 5 to 7 smallmouth all day long. Giant white bass inadvertently. Sustainability, good to have you. Welcome. Just came across a really neat anchor. It's like a box, but I've heard sustainability. I've heard people talking about that. Lighter and stronger holding, and it still folds. I like that. I've been running a 240 Sun Deck a little bit, and he's got a big box anchor, and it's way oversized, but that thing's so heavy getting up. That's my only complaint is managing that big huge thing and then getting it folded. I'm gonna have to look at that trifold one to see. And it's so I'd imagine it's hooking on one of the points. So the one thing I like about the box is it'll just flip over, but I'd imagine the triangle would do the same thing. So that's interesting. I'm gonna have to check that out. I'm gonna have to do a little test. Thank you for sharing that sustainability. All right, let's see. Kings of the City. Has anyone noticed Bass Pro is now selling Regency pontoons? They have been for quite some time. That is their Sun Tracker is their value model. Regency pontoons, and then they've got they were calling it the Ranger pontoon, but they rebranded it to what? Regatta? No. What was Ranger pontoon? Riata, the Ranger Riata pontoon is what they were calling it, and so now they didn't rename that to, let's see, tune verse tune. Yeah, so Regency is also built by White River Marine Group. So the same company that builds all the tracker, that builds the Bass Tracker, that builds Tahoe fiberglass boats, not Tahoe pontoons, but Tahoe fiberglass boats. And they've had them. I've seen them, but they went through that rebranding. They went through the rebranding with Ranger pontoon, to Reatta, Reatta, I think. And then I don't know if Regency is built different or a different boat than Reatta or not, but they have had them for, I want to say, at least 3 years. I want to say the first time that I've seen them there. My advice is to get a boat that is 5 years old, preferably 2 to 3. That way you get the warranty professional. Yeah, that's Jerry. That's the survey for sure. The survey for sure is super important, because there's certain things that a surveyor will find that can be catastrophic on a cruiser. They can find some things, and they can hear certain things on the sea trial. They can see things, that even myself, that you and I would miss, because they're used to looking at the guts of a boat. They'll do maybe 2 surveys, 3 surveys a day if they're smaller boats and they're all in the same yard. But they do, we'll call it 200, even 100 surveys a year, and most surveyors have been doing it for a decade or more, it seems. So that's it. They've looked at 1,000 boats. I've looked at a lot of boats, but a lot of my looking at boats is more on the surface level. Sticking my head in. I'm not sticking my head into the compartment that houses the sump pumps from the shower, and they can see things and smell things and tap and hear things, and they'll know stuff about certain models, like whatever surveyor, if he's been in the business or she's been in the business for more than 10 years, they have surveyed another Bayliner Sierra. They have surveyed another 28 Regal Cruiser Express. They've surveyed these boats, and they talk amongst their community that, hey, this boat, I see this over and over and over, and they have that knowledge, which is you can, instead of having to learn the hard way, you can pay for speed of finding that knowledge and avoiding those mistakes. So that I like that. Thanks for adding that, Jerry, for sure. Say your outboard stopped working. Should you trim up before using your kicker? No, I wouldn't. I here's well, there's 2 things. It's going to add more drag, but I can use it as a rudder for steering, so I get a little bit more steering control. Um, if it's too much drag for your kicker, like your kicker can't move the boat well enough, then I would trim it up, because now you don't have the prop turning, creating drag, and the lower unit creating drag. But if that kicker's strong enough, depending on how big the boat is, you're gonna be able to maneuver your boat a little bit better. So I think it just depends on the situation. Um, what you might do is, I'm going to trim it up while I'm motoring, getting to where I want to be, and then when I get to the spot, I might put it back down to give me a little bit more directional control. If that kicker has a hard time moving my boat around, like maneuvering it, that might be it. Yeah, everybody's budget's a little bit different. Um, Everybody's budget's a little bit different, and that, hey, there are you can find a cruiser in your budget, but you're going to also find a lot of turds. You're going to find a lot of boats. As soon as you see too many red flags, walk and look for the next one. That means you may have to expand your area slightly. And let's say, I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee right now. So let's say you're in Knoxville, you might want to go all the way out to from Nashville to Charlotte, in that radius, or maybe even further than that. And I would encourage you to, as you expand your radius, if you're near the coast, if you're near salt, expand it towards fresh. So expand it away from the saltwater, because a 30 a boat that is in that price range, in that size range, that's been in salt, has a lot more headaches to it than a boat that's been in freshwater if it was taken care of the same. So I would lean towards, I would lean towards a freshwater boat. Depending on where you are, that may or may not make sense. But I would always opt for a boat of that age that's been freshwater. I think it's had an easier life for sure. For sure. Yes, my boat life. That's exactly right. They're up in your neck of the woods. They're up somewhere on the Chesapeake. I don't know for sure, but Diane wrote a book years ago that was called um, what was her book called? Boating book for kids. Diane, my boat life. Life jacket. Oh, The Amazing Adventures of Boat Girl. So it's a really great book. If you have kids or grandkids, let me show it to you because this is good. Um, this was for a period of time. This was my daughter's favorite. Um, this was my daughter's favorite book right here, The Amazing Adventures of Boat Girl. It's like $10 on Amazon. You can get it there. But Diane Seltzer is the author. She's the one that her and her husband do the boating channel. My Boat Life channel. She's been in the industry. She was the marketing manager at Sure Shade for a number of years. Now her and her husband are. What you need?
Are you talking about me?
No, no. That you like The Amazing Adventures of Boat Girl. Was that you or is that the other one?
What's up? Let me see.
Oh, I just that one. Did you like that book or
I
was
think that was me.
yeah, I think it was you too. We've got two copies of it because you have one and your
And then
sister's
what's
got
this
one.
one?
Yeah. So but anyway, let's go to this is a pretty good channel. They do some lifestyle stuff with them and their kids, and they do some how-to stuff. This is the one: how to replace the vacuum flush toilet system duckbill valve. That's a job that if you've got a cruiser, that job needs to be done periodically. I want to say every they call it 7 years maybe, but it's a check valve kind of thing that allows it keeps it from backflowing and that's a kind of get an idea of if that's a job you could handle or not. um yeah, 41 Dancer up on the Chesapeake, you're exactly right. So hopefully, Billy, I answered that question pretty well for you. Is not much difference other than one's coming in, one model's coming in, the other model's going out over time. My slip neighbor has a 26 Dancer, nice boat, similar to my 28. Shore power connector is midship, not on the yeah. There's some of those that they do. It's typically on a 2018. That's interesting. It's typical. Excuse me. It's typically on the older boats. And Sea Ray did it more than anybody, I think. I know in the 90s, and maybe it's on the 26s, but on the 90s, something 260 Dancers, it was on the midship as well. I don't know why. That is weird. I agree, but something that they've done on other boats. But I'm surprised they did it on a 2018. What are your thoughts about seed market tendency with new and used boat? What are your thoughts about sea market tendency with new and used boats? Jose, ask that question again in a different way because I'm not sure I understand what you're asking there. So ask that question and I'll come back to you. Okay. What when they say saltwater series, what does that entail? So Dennis, it depends. I assume you're asking about pontoons. I assume that you're asking about a pontoon boat. And there are some that what it entails is a sticker that says saltwater series, and that's it. Like there was the joke in on some of the older outboards, their saltwater series, they changed the zincs or they changed the anodes from whatever zinc to magnesium or vice versa. I forget off the top of my head which is the right one. I always got to look that up. But from one metal that's for freshwater to the other metal that's for saltwater, and that's it. And they put a saltwater decal on it. But for me, what's important is that you don't have dissimilar metals touching. Okay. It- Dissimilar metals in any environment is bad. In saltwater, it's times 10 bad. And you'll hear stories of I've got pinholes starting in my pontoons. Well, that's from either dissimilar metals, or electricity. Some current is getting is getting out and interacting with the metal, and that electrolysis, it causes aluminum to start pitting, and then it will start getting pinholes in it, and then it just gets worse, and it can go quickly. So what that means is when you're putting your pontoons, your M brackets welded on, and then you're putting your I beams or your C channel or your Z channel, whatever they're using, and you're bolting that through, or you're tech screwing it through, whatever, is there's a plastic or rubber spacer between the stainless steel bolt and the aluminum bracing or bracket. That is some of them, some premium manufacturers, that's how they do it just on every boat that comes off the line. Barletta, Bennington, Harris on their premium lines. I don't know this for a fact, but I would venture to say Avalon Tahoe, probably Premier. But any of those more premium levels are doing that. They're adding the anodes where they need to, the sacrificial metal, so that gets eaten up before something starts eating the aluminum. And if you monitor that, you can say, oh crap, we've got a problem. Let's figure this out. Do we have straight current? Has somebody added an accessory that's, the ground isn't done properly? Or did somebody put something on the boat where two metals are touching and they're causing problems? Some of the other models, it's changing the anodes types and putting a sticker on. If you see the saltwater series, upcharge is like in the $200. Well, then I'm going to ask the question of, let me look at where the attachment is to the bracing to the tubes. Are there spacers in there that are keeping stainless steel from being touching aluminum, or not? And that's what you're going to look for. So it depends on the make, and I can't give you 100%. This one does, this one doesn't. So you'll have to just find that out from the dealer, or actually just looking at it on your own. So hopefully that's helpful for you there. You answered my question perfectly. I just wanted to hear buying a 90s cabin cruiser was unreasonable first boat, rather a pontoon boat. Sun Tracker Selfer. Yeah, that. And Nublar, depending on, ultimately want to be able to camp on the boat. I think what we're going to see, depending on what your timing is, I don't think we're going to see boats come down 50%, but I do think we're going to see the used boat market slowly reset over the next couple of years. There was a chart that I saw as I'm looking to do my next market update. Days in inventory for new boats 2023. I saw this posted. Crude oil. This isn't where I saw it. It was on a social media post, so I don't know if I'll be able to find it or not. But essentially, no. Okay, I'm not going to be able to find it, but essentially, it was a chart of days in inventory for the boating market. The average days in inventory for the last 10 years is like 220 days. So You get a boat off the truck, it hits your floor plan, you pay cash for it, however the dealer does it. It's 220 days on average for that boat to get turned. Okay. So that seems like a long time to me, right? It was down to, which I thought this was really, really interesting. And it takes all power boats. So it's not necessarily, if it's an 18-foot center console, that turn time is going to be, I would guess, much, much quicker, 180, maybe even 130, 120 days from getting in to going out on average. But it is, the trend was obviously way down during the pandemic, and now it's starting to go back up. What's interesting is it's still under the 220. It's still under the average. I think it was like 180, 190, 180, 190 days. So um, we're seeing it going to go up, and it's going to cross over that 220 line in the next 6 months. I would venture to say, but the further that when the shorter time it takes for that to cross and the more aged inventory, that's going to push all boat values down because dealers are going to have to discount new stuff. Now new stuff becomes more enticing. So if you're selling something that's a couple years old, you got to drop your price there. Now the people that were 5, 10 years old, they've got to drop their price to be less expensive than the boats that are just a couple years old, still have warranty. Now the people that are the next level have to drop their price a little bit, and so that's gonna kind of trickle down to the other boats. And so you may find an opportunity for that, for a pontoon if if that is the style of boat you want and you want to make sure it fits your budget. What I want to make sure is that you're really detail inspecting those boats so you don't buy something that you can stay overnight on, but you end up with something that is the value is gone as soon as the something breaks down that's not fixable, and now it's not resellable either. That's what I want you to avoid. So seems like either boat would be fine. Yeah. I mean, I just, like I said, I just got off the water on an R5 Cobalt. It is I mean, it's a rock solid boat. It's awesome. It's sharp looking, and the 22 and the 23 they're just good looking boats. They're really well made. They're great riding boats. They're really solid, and they do a great job on all their models. So, uh, what would be the chaparral equivalent to the two cobalts I mentioned? So the SSI would be the equivalent, Billy. Um, I'm gonna put the cobalt ahead of it though. So it's not vastly ahead of it, but it's easily ahead of it. Okay. So I would say 22 Cobalt. Then I would say the Chaparral SSI. Then I would probably put the Regal. I would put the Sea Ray SLX and SDX, their deck boat and their bow rider, not the Sea Ray SPX, not their sport boat that are made in Mexico. That's down further. But Cobalt, Chaparral, Regal, Sea Ray, and in that size range, formulas out in that size range. Who else would I throw in there? I would say those four. If you find a good, clean, used one in any of those brands in that 22 to 24-foot range, that's been well kept, I think you're gonna have a good, solid, good riding, well built boat. I run I run a '06 240 Sun Deck. I've run that this year several times. I've run '07 230 Chaparral SSX, I think. No, I take that back. In those years, it was a 230 bow rider. They weren't SSI and an SSX, and then I haven't run a Regal recently, but Regals are faster. but they don't handle tight turns as well. They've got the fast track hull, which makes them, it aerates the water, it makes it go slightly faster, not significant. Unless you're watching it on the speedo, you can't really tell. But their turning, the turning of a Cobalt, of a Sea Ray, of a Chaparral will be more true than the turning of a Regal bow rider. Just they just grab better. The way they build their strakes grab a little bit better. So um, so I think those models would be good. And the SSX on a Chaparral is the more premium level. Okay. That would be comparable to the Cobalt R's. The SSIs are going to be more comparable to the Cobalt S and CS series. It's because they're not as deep. That's the main difference between those two. They build them with similar lamination schedules, but the upholstery will be down a notch. The freeboard, they're not as deep inside the boat, and so they're a little bit lighter. They're not as deep inside the boat, but they're still well built. All right, Michaela, welcome. This is a new name I don't recognize. What would be the best position for someone riding next to the captain on a center console boat in rough water or rough wake? So, depending on how big and deep the center console is going to depend on my answer. So, the back of the boat, Michaela, is always going to be the best place to be. So at least hanging on, if the leaning post or seat on the center console isn't um, wide enough, then I'm going to recommend that if there's jump seats in the back, that's going to be the best place, because all of the moving is going to be in the bow. Okay, you're not going to get the big drops on the back if he's handling the boat well. Okay, so if the captain's not handling the boat well, then maybe you can almost fly off the Captain Tim that helped me with the Confident Coastal Boater. And if the captain is struggling with running the boat at the coast, that may be a program that you want to look at. But Captain Tim called it Thelma and Louising, where you give it too much throttle and you jump off the cliff and then you smack down. Then there's really no great place to be in the boat. But if you throttle up over and you cut it back in timing with the waves, then you'll come up, you come down, and you'll get that nose back up for the next one, but you won't overdo it and shoot over it. You'll pull that throttle back so you just nicely come down. The back jump seats is going to be the place to be. If you do sit on the leaning post with the captain, okay, one thing that you have to be very well aware of, and whether this is if you're the passenger or if it's somebody else and you're the captain, Michaela, is make sure they understand they do not, under any circumstances, put their hand near the throttle. It's real easy for you to get in some slop and for that boat to be, you're going through a really rough inlet and you got a minute of just up and down, and you're holding on for your life. Is you're not ready for it, and you grab, and the first thing you grab is whatever, and that throttle is just right there wanting you to do it. Don't touch that throttle under any circumstances. Figure out before you enter that inlet, before you get into the rough stuff, where am I going to grab on? I got the T-top here, and I've got this grab on the seat. But I know I'm not going to grab that throttle. If I'm sitting in the stern of the boat, which is the place I would want you to be, unless, and I say that in most cases, unless there's something about that seat that um, is really bad. Where am I hanging on? And I'm going to hang on with two hands, and I'm going to be on my butt. But I don't want to be anywhere forward of midship. That's out of bounds in rough water. Is I want to be in the back half, and the further back you are, the easier it will be. So hopefully that's helpful for you, Michaela. And if you tell me what kind of boat, I'll pull it up and on my screen share, and show you there. I only put 20 hours so far this year. I will. I will definitely do that. Sustainability. BC Outdoor Adventures, you're welcome. Very welcome. James, welcome. New name. Captain, arm myself with your knowledge and am anxiously waiting to take order of a new Pioneer 202 Islander. Would like your opinion of Pioneer. Pioneer is a good boat. I have let me pull up that 202 Islander. 202 Islander here. All right, so everybody else can see what the boat looks like. Screen share window. Here we go. All right, so Pioneer is one. I really like the looks of them. They use a 3 mold building process, not a. I don't know. Shoot. I don't remember if it's a three hull design with a liner or not, but they use a 3rd mold to get that angle on the back on some of their models. I'm not sure if they do it on the Islander or not, but it's a well built boat. I inspected these this past year in Charleston, and did they have them? No, they did have. I think they might have had one in Greensboro when I checked it out there. But a good solid boat. I like the lines of it. And let's see if I can get this to stop. I like this right here. I think that looks really sharp. Scout does it, but it just the lines flowing back, and then this. Let's see if I can get what I wanted to show. There we go. This coming back right into the swim platform, right into the bracket. I like the looks of that. I think it looks really sharp. It's got a lot of flair on it. The interior I thought was really good. I don't know that I would put it top of the premium, but it's lower premium to higher mid tier for sure. Probably in the premium category is where the lower premium category is where I put them. So I think you did well on the as long as it meets your boating style. That's the biggest thing. Does it meet your boating style, and is the dealer good? That's going to be key. She's my 8-year-old who came up with. Yes. So Bells, thank you for watching the channel, and thank you for coming up with the sustainability handle. Here, you want to say hi to Bells? She's 8.
Huh?
This one is 12. My youngest is 9. She's 9, right?
I don't know. I thought she was 7 for like 3 years.
Well, she wasn't 7 for 3 years. You only are an age for 1 year. So welcome to the channel. Thanks for checking out our live, Bells. Glad to have you as a boater. All right, so Michaela Brock has a 24-foot Sportsman Center console, and he runs out of Charleston. My wife feels more comfortable standing next to me, holding on to the T-top at the helm. Yeah, it depends. His center console is deeper, so she's actually in the boat and has a good 3 feet of her lower body. Versus if you're in like a bay boat, if you're in a bay boat center console, but the configuration is good. I like that spot. You can use your knees as shock absorber. You don't just have to take everything on your butt, which is good. And I'm tall enough that I can usually hang on to the T-top on the top of the T-top and on the center console upright. And so I can have 2 points of leverage. I do like that for sure. So thank you for sharing that, Brock. I appreciate it. Anyone curious about the market? 2024 Pioneer. Anyone curious about the market? 2024 Pioneer. Okay, here we go. Thank you for sharing this data point. 2024 202 Islander, 175 Suzuki T-top trim tab, ski bar, 9-inch Garmin, 62,000. So that is. I'm going to do this. I'm going to come back and get that comment because that's a really good data point. I don't know if anybody else has bought a 20. Let's see, 2022 Islander, 1910 center line, 8.2 beam, 2,400 pounds, max power 200. And let's see, that was with the 175. Okay, so that's real close to max power. That feels like a pretty good price to me. So if anybody else has bought a similar size center consoles, if you got a Pioneer, even better. Be curious to see how they match up. And James, does that include the trailer? I would imagine. I don't know if they package those with the trailer or not. That size they may, but I don't know for sure if they did or not. So that would be another piece. What are your thoughts and how do you see the boat market tendency? So what do I see going forward is I see inventory continuing to build up and continuing to slow down. Like I mentioned in the aged inventory that I found, it was the source of it was from InfoLink, which provides a lot of market data in the boating industry, and I use a lot of their data in my market updates. But I hadn't found that aged inventory chart like I did. I came across it just by accident the other day on one of my feeds. But so I see it continuing to slow down. But the reality is there's still, even though there's fear in the market, there's still a lot of money out in the economy. There is still a lot of people that are able and willing to pay cash, even as interest rates go up. And that's what's taken a lot of people out of the market is they were going to finance, and a $50,000 boat at 4 or 5% interest is a lot cheaper to fit into the budget than a $50,000 boat at 8% interest. And so that's taken some people out of the market, but there's still a good number of people that are willing and able to buy and just write a check. There's also more discounting going on, so that's trying to entice people to buy the boats that are on inventory. I think as those discounts continue to happen, it's going to push all of the market down, but not by 50%. I think it might push the market down by 10%, maybe 15, but I don't see it going down 25%. Definitely not, anything crazy like 50. But I think it will slowly start to trickle down. If you are looking to get the best deal, and you're okay, I mean, it's already July 23rd right now. If you are okay missing the season, I told my parents this. So this is what I just told my dad. They've got a 2014 South Bay Tritune with the 150 Merc 4-stroke. He said, "Hey Matt, we're thinking about upgrading." This is what happens. Neighbors in our cove just bought a new Tritune. It's got a 250 Yamaha on it. They took us for a ride. Your mom really liked it. I wouldn't mind a little bit more horsepower. What do you think our boat's worth? And what do you think? I said, here's the deal. Your boat's worth more than you paid for it 6 years ago. They bought it a couple years used down on the Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri. I said, here's what you should do, in my opinion, is wait till November and then start shopping and buy something that's a 2023 or even a 2024. But I think dealers are going to be in November, December, especially in the Midwest. I think they're going to be very motivated to deal. And you can probably get yourself a pretty good deal on something new, maybe something a couple years old that they have on inventory. They'd rather move it now than to pay the interest and curtailment payments until, I think in that area, there's a boat show in April on the lake. but the reality is they're going to probably keep that boat till May or June to sell it. And that starts to get expensive. It starts to depreciate, especially if my prediction of the market going down slightly. New boats are going to level off, maybe go down, but they're going to go down with rebates. They're going to go down with discounts. You're not going to see MSRPs come down. You're going to see discounting happen more, and that's where you're going to see the market make the adjustment. So that's what I expect. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not an economist. I'm a boat guy that pays attention and have some gut feel, and that's what I would say. All right, Kings in the City. Question for the girls: what's something you have or wish you had that makes boating more enjoyable for you? Hey, baby, you still in your room? All right, let me text them and I'll get them down here. Kings and City, I'll come back to you. Let's see here. I don't know. I guess the oldest one has her phone, but the youngest one may not. You come answer a question. So, all right. So Kings in the City, that's a good question. I will get them. It's a pretty good deal. Yeah, that's kind of what I felt. 62. I have some friends that just bought the same boat and they paid 50 for it 2021. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So this is a question that you're being asked. All right. So
Why us?
youngest one? Well, because I'm guessing that Kings in the City has kids. So hey, blonde one, you start.
Blonde one?
All right. What's something you have or wish you had that makes boating more enjoyable for you? You got an answer that comes to mind?
No.
What about the mats?
Oh,
Like that?
I want a trampoline.
A trampoline?
The water trampoline.
Okay.
And a water slide.
Yeah. We are
And
so
a diving board. Everything.
No, but that's not on the boat, Emery.
yeah, so we have we're on Kings of the City. We're usually freshwater lake boaters. So one things that they really enjoy, and sometimes we'll take it on the water with us.
We can't take a trampoline.
No, but I'm talking about the mat.
Oh.
So we've had lily pads that we've used,
It wasn't ours.
and the mat, the blow up inflatable mat that we took out. Did we take out with you?
Wow.
With
No.
Evelyn? No.
But we have taken it out.
Yeah, we took it out. I don't remember
I
when.
think we took
when
it
we went
with
with Aunt
Kelly.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Excuse
But
me.
a big, it's probably
A little bit shorter than
5 foot by 6 foot, almost
Yeah.
a square. That
Not
it's
5 foot, probably like 4.5.
well, let's just pull it up here. Wow, inflatable mats. Okay, so it's this one right here.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the mat, and I'll tell you, when we're at the dock, especially,
we just lay it in the water.
yeah,
Today I was tanning on it.
they tan on it, they wrestle on it, and they make all sorts of.
It's a
So
balance
it's
test.
a balance test, yeah. So this is it right here,
6 foot by 10 foot.
and it
No,
just it's
not.
inflatable. That might have been a bigger size.
We need another one to tie onto it.
We didn't need another one. Okay. Anything else? But they also make a big inflatable trampoline, like a big that's
People
probably
down the
2 feet off the water. It's probably what, 8 feet wide, maybe.
big.
Yeah, it's pretty big. That just floats off the dock. We are one of the things that we do is we just anchor out, and those noodles. You guys are always have a noodle with you.
Yeah.
Well, not me. But
So
I do sometimes.
let's see here. West Marine noodle. So, all right, here's another. This is something that we always, whether it's the cheap foam ones, but we've upgraded
like
to
the fancy
these.
ones.
Yeah, the fancy ones are nice. Like this. So this is wow again.
We don't have those exactly.
Yeah, that we don't have
We have
it.
the ones
but-
from Sam's Club.
Yeah. And that one's a Conley. The yellow one's a Conley. That came from West Marine.
Yeah.
But they're big noodles and they're great for float and they're really buoyant. They're really durable. The ones that my brother has at the Ozarks, I think he's the first one.
His are West Marine.
Yeah, his are definitely West Marine, and I bet he's had those for I want to say 7, 8 years or more. And they've got kids and they get used a lot. Anything else that well, for this one, snacks. I don't know if that's what your question was going for, but she loves to have snacks on the boat. We usually do Capri Sun roaring waters because they're clear and they don't have a ton of sugar in them. But chips.
I like
dips,
sugar.
They both like sugar. Chips and dips and snacks. They always enjoy that. You can't think of anything else? One more. What do you got?
I like the tubes.
The tubes. Okay, so we had the Mabel.
We need a
Are we-
hot dog tube.
We've got a Mabel.
I
We've
want
got
to get
a
the one-
round belly tube, and
I like
we've used the I don't know, what would you call that? The wider belly tube, the one that we ran on Lake Norman.
It
and
has
the-
like little wings.
Yeah.
Ish. more of
Which
a-
of those when they were young, they really liked the Mabel.
It's more
Um,
of like a circle, and then it comes into,
I'm
goes into
terri-
like a square bottom.
Yeah.
I'm terrified of the Mabel because when I went with your cousin, we flipped over and got stuck on
That was so funny.
and we just barely got out of the cove.
Yeah. So
But that
those
was
are
the Ferris. He was also a grown adult, and you were like what, 7?
He was only like 13, 15.
who was that? My cousin?
Yes,
Yes,
your
your
cousin.
No, your cousin's.
Which is down at the
Son.
Ozarks or?
Yeah, the one who works for Lace.
Oh, okay.
His
Okay.
son.
Lavoyle's cousin. That's who it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Boy.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you, girls.
Okay, goodbye.
All
I'm
right.
going to bed. I'm not.
You're going to bed?
No.
It's like 10.
All right. So
No.
hopefully I got to work on their answering ability to be able to think on the fly.
I'm gonna stay here with you.
All right. Well, say
You should ask me more questions.
that's what I thought. Tara sitting on the sidelines and jumped in. Yeah, that I mean the if you bought a boat in March of 2019 or March of 2020, you probably got the best deal ever. That's when the inventory, and if you look at that days in inventory chart, you can see it. March 2020, right before the pandemic, that line was going way up and then it dropped way down and now it's getting back up to the average. So sitting on the sidelines, and if you've got kids, this one's 12 and it seemed like just the other day that she was a little baby and we were still putting on the life jacket with the strap through the legs. And now
We still have that at our house.
we do, but you don't fit into it anymore. So,
No.
yeah, that's awesome.
You guys should ask
um,
me more questions.
Same exact boat. Yeah, awesome. Thanks. Cobalt has been our favorite so far. Yeah, it is. And if you look at my best and worst bow riders, you will, you'll see that I put Cobalt number 1. You want to say hello? She's joining me. They just got asked a question, so a specific one for them. So, yeah, Cobalt is awesome. I just ran one today. Okay, so you are Jason's fiance. Last time out on the boat, I dropped down towards the floor to brace myself, broke my. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and I don't know if we talked about this, but I just here's a video that you should watch, or and I think we talked about it the other day. It's called How to Trim Your Pontoon Center Console Cruiser.
Your little toy boat.
Have Jason watch that video. It's in the Best Boat Captain program, which I don't know if you guys have that or not, but definitely look at that. And it is partly he can drive a little different, and partly is you'll get the feel on your boat. So that's a 24. Oh, so you got the same size boat that Brock does. Um, is your helm seat is probably wide enough for you to sit on, and and so what I would do is I would stand and just use my butt as a third point. I would hold on. If there's, I would assume there's grab rails there, and then use your butt as sort of a and have a lot of flex in your knees when those big ones come in. But the other is, hey, for Jason, make sure he's using that trim. So instead of you're just pounding and slow the throttle down. So come off the throttle a good bit if it's a real big cruiser like I know you've got on Cumberland. So yeah, for sure. Rod, my brother just welcome, Rod. That's a new name I don't recognize. Mother just brought his first boat for the Ohio River mainly. He wants a VHF radio, ICOM Standard Horizon, fixed mount. Which would you recommend? I use Standard Horizon. That's what my VHF is. I do every now and again as a backup for Towboat US, and he's an ICOM guy. So they're both really good, and I would say, I want to say it doesn't matter, but a couple of things that you want to make sure he has is make sure he gets the version that has the DCS button, which is the little red button that you flip up the lid and you push it, and it'll send out a distress signal with the push of a button. Most of them have it now, but the cheaper versions do not, especially on the handhelds. And that would be my second recommendation: is get the fixed mount and get a handheld. If something really bad does happen and the boat goes down, or you're out of the boat, you can have that handheld. Your battery goes dead. Now the fixed mount doesn't do anything, and you'll want that handheld. And there's enough, I would imagine, enough commercial traffic on the Ohio River that monitor 16, pay attention if a barge is coming around to bend, they'll make a call, and you'll want to hear that to be cautious. So, all right, yeah, 248 Commander. Now that I know who you are, Michaela, I know your boat. So that is good. Hi from Iowa, USA. Boatman, welcome. I am a Cornhusker, so right next door. Let's see. Last time, right next to him on the leaning post, I dropped down to get a better grip, to brace for the impact. End up breaking my tailbone. Just don't want to break it again. I would imagine. Hopefully that's a quick recovery. But that sounds painful. Okay, including a dual axle trailer, because a trailer on that boat's what, $6,000 probably, something like that. Did you find anything on changing to a 4-step ladder instead of 3-step that it has? I haven't. I don't know. Oh shoot, Jason, I didn't even look into it. I don't know. I don't know that. Other than calling your CPro dealer. Let's see. Replacement 4-step ladder for console. So let's see here. Why did my screen share? Why is it not wanting to share my screen? There we go. So you can see, like this one, I would imagine this is from Overton's. I would imagine it's going to telescope. Now I don't know what the setup is on your Commander, but it's going to telescope in. And the big thing is, does this fit? Does that fit in where your ladder mounts? Because it's a flush mount, but usually there's some sort of a sunken well that it fits in. And as long as it sticks in there, and I mean, the reality is if it sticks off the back just a little bit, I'm not too concerned about that. The only time that's going to be a problem is if you're going to run into something. And you know, if you're going to run into something, then you got other problems to worry about. So I think something like that, $120 for a stainless steel ladder is, and I just picked this one because it popped up. I don't know that it's a good one or a bad one, but here's a four stepper for 160. So that seems to be on the high end, 72.
These are so expensive. Expensive.
Well, stainless steel is expensive.
What about not stainless steel?
That pontoon ladder, I don't know that would fit, but I will say that having those grab handles is a significant advantage on the leverage. It really allows you to pull yourself up. And if you can make that fit, I would just measure it out and then and check these dimensions and see what fits, what doesn't. And I think that will there's 300. So the most expensive one I saw is 300.
What?
And it's just find the one that's going to mount the way you need it to. And the telescoping ones are probably,
It's like $125 per step.
I guess you're right if you look at it that way. So, all right,
You guys should ask me more questions.
relax. You just let the questions come. You don't know. You don't know what they're going to be.
You're not showing them.
I go down one at a time. I'm not just looking for you.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I found a four-step folding ladder, T&H Marine. It won't fit my cutout. So my Sportsman with some fiberglass. Okay, yeah, that's the thing that you're gonna have to just measure it out to figure out what will and won't work. And you know, they make the mold for the ladder they're using, but if you can get the right width, I think you're gonna be able to go deeper without doing fiberglass work. That's what you're looking for if it's available. Looking for a used Angular Quest center console. I live in Louisiana on the Gulf, and I want a good fishing boat and a tri-tune. What's your opinion of this boat? Dennis, I'll give you the same answer I give to everybody. When you're looking at a used boat, especially if it's more than 5 to 7 years old, it's more about the specific angler Quest that you're looking at. I will say that Quest is a value pontoon boat, which doesn't mean when you say Quest center console. I'm gonna pull this up. Angler.
It means it's in the console.
I know what it means in that respect, dear. Quest center console. I want to make sure it's not I'm thinking it's a center console pontoon and not a fiberglass center console. That's because that
thing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So let's.
How many fishing clubs?
Well,
do people really need to catch that much fish?
Yeah. Okay. So it is a center console pontoon. I don't have any problem with a center console pontoon. I just wanted to make sure that's what we were talking about. It's a value brand, which means that, hey, they're taking out some of the material to get that price down. They're using slightly cheaper labor methods to build stuff. Like if you were to measure the fence rail, that fence rail isn't as high as it would be on, let's say, a Premier or a Harris or a Bennington or a Barletta, something like that. It's okay as long as it's high enough and you feel safe in it. The upholstery is not going to be as thick and as durable. It's okay. Just take really, really good care of it and you'll be in good shape. But the motor, I mean, it's going to have, it might have a Suzuki or a Honda on it, depending on what the dealer puts on. So just make sure it's a good dealer, that you have support for that motor if you're going used in your area. But and you know, if fishing's what you're doing, um, if fishing's what you're doing, then that's probably a pretty good setup for you. And I don't know of many manufacturers that are doing a center console on a pontoon. So if that fits what you're going, then that seems like a good fit for where you're at and what you're looking to do. And that's what's most important. July 23rd, only about a month left before the kids go back to school. Did you hear that?
No.
We were on the Fox River watching the sunset warm, surprisingly very little bugs. Bella loves tubing and learning to drive. It's funny you say that because my youngest, the blonde one, said before we left, "Daddy, can I drive? Can I drive?" And I'm like, I'm fine with them driving if the lake is quiet enough. And so on the way there, it was pretty busy. But on the way back on a Sunday, everybody's heading home for dinner, getting ready for work, and on the way back, there was a nice long stretch into our cove that was wide open, and she loves it. Do you like driving?
Yeah.
You didn't ask. You didn't say anything. I'll let you drive tomorrow because it'll
Okay.
be Monday. Nobody will be on the water.
I'm gonna drive the jet skis.
No, jet skis you don't get to drive. I don't even like to drive the jet skis. You
Oh.
definitely don't get to.
Well, just
So-
because you don't like to doesn't mean I can't.
Well, you can't because I know how difficult it is to drive a jet ski safely and how easy it is to get in trouble on a jet ski and do something dumb that's going to cause something bad to happen. Okay. So awesome. Bella, she wakeboards. You like wakeboarding more than skiing?
Yeah.
Wakeboarding, tubing more than wakeboarding?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What's your favorite thing to do on the water?
I like to tube and to wakeboard, but
Tube,
I like
wakeboard.
swimming off the dock.
What they really like is bringing a friend with them on the boat. So otherwise, it's her and her sister and her mom and I, maybe a aunt or uncle. But when it's just the four of us going, they like to bring a friend. Well, what they really like to do is bring a friend without the sister, without the other sister. We've done that once this year for each of them.
Evelyn Montgomery's in West Virginia.
Yeah. Okay. So they are, but you even just like cruising. Like I noticed you sitting back, lounging, the music going when we were cruising back from the restaurant.
Emery's sitting up there in the way of me singing.
All right, Jose, how can I appraise a 2012 Robalo 800 hours? So what you want to do is one, go to NADA guides, go to the boating section and go to 2012 Robalo, put in that boat. Don't put in all the options unless it has something significantly different than most Robalo R260s would have. So if it's got some out of this world electronics, put those in. But if it's got a T-top, and I would guess most R26s, R260s have T-tops. Trailer, add that. That's something that a boat may or may not have. And then you can put in the hours. It'll make an adjustment for hours. And then put in the motor, whatever the make and horsepower of the motor is, and it will give you a value. Now, that's just one data point. The other thing you want to do is you want to go to Boat Trader and you want to pull up 2010 to 2014 Robalo 26 footers and just look at all of them and see where they're listing them. Okay. Use those numbers to give you a relative idea. Know that NADA is, what you'll find, which may be of interest to you, is there probably are only 3 of those Robalos for sale right now, if that, of that make, model, and year. May or may not have the same options, may or may not have the same horsepower, but there's very few. So sometimes those NADA guide numbers can be off because there's just not that many sold. But I would look at those 2 data points to give you an idea of where it should be. On Boat Trader, those are the numbers that sellers are hoping to get. Understand that they're going to negotiate down probably, so it's going to be slightly lower than that. I put more emphasis on a dealer's price because a dealer wants to sell it quickly. They'll make more money by discounting it a little bit more and moving it quickly to move on to the next model, especially right now where inventory levels are aging and they're staying longer and longer in the on the books. So they want to turn those boats as quickly as they can. So their numbers are going to be closer to reality, but still higher because they're going to negotiate as well. Than if I'm selling my Robalo, hey, I'm shooting for the stars. Maybe I may be totally out of line on my price, and you'll see that. You'll see it's like 75,000, 82,000, and then you'll see like 106,000. You're like, you're insane, and they're just testing the waters. They're unrealistic, and they're not going to sell that boat for that price. And if you see a number that it's like 70s, 80s, high 60s, and then you see one that's like 42, well, that boat's either got major problems or it's a scam. So I throw out really highs, really lows, and I look at sort of that mid tier. And then you have to open it up to the age range within a 3 or 4 year window for that boat and see what that is. And then I'd also look at other models that are in the same category and premium mid-tier value. So I would probably pull up maybe some Sportsman, maybe some Key West of that same size and see where those are to get a relative picture of, okay, this seems like maybe get a $5,000 range of where it should be based on the options. And then, 800 hours, what are the other hours on those boats? How does that compare? So that's the way I would go about looking at it.
Ooh, what's a water cannon?
Got to have a water cannon for those no wake zone battles.
It's a water
They're
cannon.
like the big squirt guns. So they're like big cylinders like this well, here's the problem. If
You should tell them.
kids and water cannons, kids and water cannons, you got to make sure that water cannon fight is agreed upon by both children, because one of them's going to squirt the other one right in the face. And I know this because I've got them, and that's what they love to do. But yes.
Tell them about the jet ski person.
What did the jet ski person do?
The guy on the gray jet ski from.
Oh, that came. See, it happens. A jet ski came into our cove here, super fast. It's a no wake zone, and he zipped around, and he almost didn't make the turn, and
Mom said.
almost hit the riprap before he made the turn.
Mom said that she thought she was gonna have to peel him off the rocks.
Yeah,
he did.
It from where I was, you guys were at a different angle. I was a lot closer to him, but he was nowhere near me, and he was really nowhere near the rocks. If he would have kept turning, but he eventually really gave it a crank and spun it.
I thought he was gonna flip over.
Yeah. So I wasn't that offended by what he did. I've seen a lot worse, I'll say that.
Mom thought you were gonna go up to the doc who had that jet ski and was gonna.
No, I'm not gonna do that. Only if you're shining your lights in my eyes on the water. In our case in Florida, we would get the handheld VHF. Yeah, good. Yeah, I like not only the DCS button, but also the GPS and it's not significantly more expensive to get that, but it's certainly very valuable. Awesome, Brock. What's your opinion on a turbo swing? The kids are trying to kneeboard. Tow rope is hooked up in the Y harness. Transom hooks keep spraying them in the face. Yeah. So there's two ways to go. The turbo swing. I've never used one, but all reports have been positive from people that I know that use them. And you can also the ball tends to create just as much spray if that's the issue. Is if it's too close to them, it's going to spray in the face. So the turbo swing, it's more about getting it up above, and it's got a little bit of an angle to it. But yeah, it works well on your setup. on your setup, I would be curious to know if it would get you up high enough, if that angle is going to get that rope up high enough to get it out of the water, um, versus like the booster ball. So if you know what the booster ball looks like, probably you might even run one, um, booster ball. So let me show this. Share screen. So this is the booster ball, and it works like that. So it gets that it gets that line out of the water. Now, depending on your boat, like I've run it on some of the stern drives that I run, and that rooster tail, because it's so deep in the water, it gets right up to that ball, and then that ball creates a bigger splash. And my girls aren't super aggressive, so we tend to go fairly slow. If you go fast enough, you get the rope tight enough, and that just kind of skips across the top of the water. But sometimes at slower speeds, it will cause a splash. Not as much as just the rope being in the water, but that might be an option. And the $100 one, it's got the tow line in it as well. But if you're knee boarding, they make one that you can swap out, and it's not that one. It is, there's one of them that has an attachment point that you can put a handle on. I don't remember which one that is. It might be called something. Might be that I typed in booster ball, but there's another one that has a different setup. Mm, Brock, I'm not seeing it, but I'll look. I'll try to find it. I don't want to bore everybody looking at that, but I'll try to find that for you and send it over to you. I'd like some more top end. I'm currently running 15, next size up 17, then 19. Out of the hole will be a little slower. What do you think? Um, keep me from. I would guess that that big a jump is going to be, if you're going to make the move up, go to a 17. Um, the other thing is, you probably have a stainless steel on that, because you've got a 400, um, 3 blade versus 4 blade. The 4 blade will get you a little bit more, um, but again, less out of the hole. Um, I would say going up to a 19 is too big of a jump, especially if you're running close to 6,000 with the 15. Um, but you could try that. I doubt if you have an aluminum on that, but going from aluminum to stainless steel, if that's appropriate for your body of water, um, that would be another thing that I would look at. And doing prop, it's a little bit of art and science. So you got to, what things to change. But there's, material, there is blades, 3 or 4, and then there is pitch. Those are your main three that you're going to mess with. Your diameter, you're probably not going to go, because you don't have room, right? You don't have room to go to a significantly bigger diameter, and usually that's going to cause more issues than what it's worth. Especially since yours is a brand new motor with, it should have been set up right. The other, if you're is looking at the not Solus. What's the word I'm looking for? Uh, who is that? Why am I blanking? Uh, Shero, there we go. That's what I'm looking for. Is all reports and everybody I've talked to that Shero propeller is getting the results. Is doing what they say, but it comes at a price tag. So that may be another thing for you to look into. Is do they have one? Do they have one built out for your setup on your Bennington? And for that motor, because that's why they're part of why they're so expensive, is they're custom to the boat and the hull. And they're still building them out. The more mass produced the boat is, the more common that boat setup is, the more likely they have it templated. And I don't think they're giving discounts on it yet, but I think over time that the price will come down.
Are there any questions for me?
No,
Yeah.
that's the first question I think I've ever gotten for you girls. It's not like these questions are coming in. Hey, what does your 12-year-old daughter think?
Oh, you should ask me.
Hey,
I'm very
I'm the one. They're
knowledgeable.
here for me. It's Captain Matt's live, not 12-year-old girls live.
One day I
If they got a question about Taylor Swift,
can
you
answer it.
can answer that.
I'm wearing a Taylor Swift sweatshirt.
All right, so maybe Bella is a Taylor Swift fan. Do you think?
I don't know.
I bet she's 8. Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. Well, she's a Swiftie. Is that what you call yourself? Monday, Thursday.
One day I should take over your life.
Yes, I'm sure the viewer count will just skyrocket.
It
Is that
will.
what you think? Mercury, Verado, Supercharge. Yeah. So those are a couple of the things that I would look at. And it's, I don't know. And the other thing, sustainability, I assume that you're using your trim well. Another way to get extra speed is to really get that trim set up and get on it. That'll pick up, on your boat. It could potentially increase your speed 5, 6, 7 miles an hour with let your lifting strakes really kick in. I'm assuming you're on the trim. Just if you hear that rev limiter kick in, which is it's going to give you a beep, just like the beep when you start it up. That's the motor saying, "Whoa, that's a little bit too much RPM," and then you want to tap it down a little bit. But that's another way to get more speed out of if you're not using it. Yeah, and if you're already at max RPMs at full throttle, going up bigger is, yeah, depending on how far away from the max RPM you are at wide open throttle. You go too big, and it can make that engine work too hard, and not, it should be hitting $6,000 and you're only hitting 5,000, like Jason's saying here. That's too far. That engine's working too hard, and to get it. So yeah, that sounds about right. I was a little worried about the turbo swing clearing my power poles. Customer service said it should be clear them. Install is easier since I have the jack plate. Yeah, it's it, it looks a little odd sticking off there on some boats, I think, but the functionality, it does what it says it's going to do. Unlike some boating products that for me, this is a pet peeve of mine, and it actually, and there's another one that just jumped into my head, is the elastic dock lines, the bungee cord dock lines. They're great if everything is in the right place, but as soon as you need to shorten it up or you need it just a little bit longer, now it doesn't work because it's got loop ends on both sides. I like the bitter end where I can adjust. On the Cobalt, I love the quick connect clips that they have for the fenders if everything lines up. So I mentioned we went to dinner at Cheers, and their docks, the R5's 26 feet. Their docks are about 10. Okay. And they're in the slip that we were in, there's a piling on one side, and then 10 foot of dock on the other, and a piling maybe 2 feet in front of it. So the fender on the transom was good, but the midship fender was in front of the piling even. And because all of the fenders are set up on those quick connects, now I've got to undo all the quick connects and rig up something to make the fender hit where I want it to. So I ran a line from cleat to cleat and then tied 2 fenders off on that line and got them set where I wanted to. But it's I don't know, that I got sidetracked with that conversation, but the turbo swing does what it's designed to do in most situations or all situations, whereas sometimes the specialty products like that, they don't deliver their promise. Bringing them 5,000. Yeah, it's there gets to a point where if you're not hitting your wide open throttle, that engine's working too hard in the wrong range. So you want to be as close as you can get. And I think there might be even guidelines in your Merc manual that will help you find out if you're. I don't know if it'll tell if you're too low, but I would say 1,000 RPMs off your max, your wide open throttle setting is too much. 500, I would probably be okay with, but 1,000 seems too much on the low side, because now you're not letting that engine get out and wind it out like it wants to. Um, awesome, Jose. That's I appreciate that. We've got a lot of good people in the community that ask good questions and have good answers when I don't. So it's good. Stainless steel, only with higher horsepower. Yeah, I felt that probably had stainless steel on it. My fear is lugging uh, engine a little lead to mechanical. It will. It will. It won't be instant, but over time, the engine's working harder than what you want to be. Yeah, that 300 to 500 RPM of your max. Yep. All right. Holy crap. We're an hour 47 minutes into this. I don't think anyone around here could fix it. Bella is a Swiftie. That's good. I had a feeling she might be based on my two. Um, yeah, that's $5,000. If you're in a place where you're going to hit something, um, that that is an expensive prop to replace for sure. Yeah. So what sustainability, like if you haven't watched my trim video I just released it last week, I think, but if you get that porpoising, that's too far. But if you're still not getting that bow getting really light, just keep giving it a little bit more trim. You're gonna feel that porpoising before you blow that out and cause problems. And on most of the pontoons, it can take a little bit more than what you initially think. So just tap, 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 and see when you get that bow, then you're losing performance. So give it one more tap down until it settles, and that's going to be about the max setting. But sometimes you can give it, you're like, I feel this feels good. But if you give it just a little bit more, it gets that angle up and it gets those lifting strakes kicking even more, gets you more up on top of the water, and you might grab, mile, 2, 3 miles an hour more, even from where you're at. Or you may have it trimmed up to exactly right, and you're getting the most out of it that you're going to get out of it. I trim mine two variants from the top, 5,900, 6,000, hitting 49. That's pretty good on that. Most fiberglass boats are going to run from 42 to 50 to 55, maybe at the top end. So that's on the high end of where most fiberglass boats are built to run. Not all, but most. I like that it's removable since we'll use it with kids. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Is that you can just pop that baby off, leave the brackets there, um, put the ski, which is always there, unscrew it, take it off. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Brock. You got it figured out. You know what you're doing. I told you you should be doing this too. All right, okay, guys, I am gonna call it quits there. I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody joining, even though we got started a little bit late. And we will catch you guys all next week. I am my jack plate's under 3, and I can trim up to about 60-65%, hit 53, 54. Yeah, and with that jack plate, that's another thing. You're seeing, I'm trying to think, you'll see a jack plate on a few pontoons. You don't see it that much, but that's something that is will give you some enhancement on speeds, because you want it down low when you're getting started, but once you get up, you can make some tiny tweaks there, and that's going to get you a little bit more too. So, all right, guys, thank you very much. We will catch you all next week, and tomorrow I'm going to be out on the water well. Hopefully have the lake to ourselves, do some wakeboarding in the morning, and see where the afternoon goes. Oh, real quick, we may not be on next Sunday. My wife's grandfather passed away, and so we are going to be at the funeral next weekend, and I'm not sure when we're traveling back home. So if you see it up, we're having it. If you don't, it won't be posted, and I'll just make a post that we're not doing it. So thank you guys very much. We'll catch you all next week, hopefully. Take care, everybody.